lovely friends, it's Margaret, and today we are recommending books. So for those of you that have not heard of the Book Rec Bonanza, it is an event that I started that's kind of like a secret Santa. Basically, people fill out a form and then I matched them with a buddy so that they could recommend books to that buddy. If you want any more information about the Book Rec Bonanza, I will have that information linked down in the description box. We are doing another round for Valentine's Day, so you definitely want to be following the Twitter account. So for the winter 2019 round of the Book Rec Bonanza, I was matched with Rebecca Blume. I will have Rebecca's channel linked down below so that you can go and check her out and give her lots of love. Rebecca is a booktuber that talks a lot about fantasy. She likes to add some baking into her videos. She's got a very calming, soothing presence. It feels like you're chatting with a friend as you are listening to her talk about books. So I had a lot of fun watching her videos and trying to figure out what kind of books I would be recommending to her. I definitely found a video where you can see her full bookshelf and just paused it to see what books she already had, trying to figure out what do I know of that she doesn't necessarily know of. Rebecca was looking for young adult and adult recommendations in fantasy, mystery, and romance. Some of the things that she really enjoys reading are Hate to Love, Forbidden Romance, anything that has fantasy with a little bit of romance mixed in, same Rebecca, and sweet, cozy reads. I don't know that I can help you with that last one all that much, but the first three I can probably do something about. And funnily enough, one of her favorite books is Truth Witch, which I just read and absolutely lost my crap over. So my first recommendation for that is taken. So I'm going to be starting off my recommendations with fantasy because that is my favorite genre. We could sit and talk all day about all the fantasy recommendations. She is specifically looking for lesser known books, so I tried to go in that direction. The first is a YA fantasy that I happen to see on her shelves, and I just want to make sure that she knows it's a good book and she should read it. And that is Onyx and Ivory by Mindy Arnett. I feel like this is a very underrated fantasy series. So it's about two people who dated at one point, and then her father tried to assassinate the king, who happened to be his father. And so things got a little bit awkward. So we pick up a little bit later in the timeline. Stuff is going down, and these two are thrown together, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. I'm not going to go too much into this one, but it did do such a great job with tension. It did a great job of building this relationship, repairing it between these two people. I really enjoyed it. I just think more people need to be reading and talking about this because it was such a good book. The next book that I want to recommend is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is basically an origin story for the Queen of Hearts, and I saw that Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Dow is one of Rebecca's favorite books, so I was like, have you read that? So Rebecca, if you have not read Heartless yet, you need to read it. I am recommending this as someone who doesn't necessarily enjoy villain origin stories, and yet this one is so good and so gripping. You start out the story in one place and you spend so much time on the edge of your seat trying to figure out how you get this character to the character we all know as the Queen of Hearts. Another fantasy that I want to recommend is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. I really enjoyed this. It's got a little bit of a hint of romance, but mostly it's about the fantasy world and the things that January can do. I was so pleasantly surprised by this book. I had never heard of it until I got an ARC at BookCon, and it was really good. This is a really intricate kind of mesh between our world and a bunch of different fantasy worlds. It's a fantastic story about family, and it is probably going to be on my top 10 books of the year. Also, Rebecca really likes Gothic novels. She's got an entire video talking about some recommendations based on Gothic novels. So I just wanted to recommend a couple that kind of have that same vibe. The first is A Wounded Name by Dot Hutchison. This is a retelling of the Ophelia story. This has gorgeous flowery writing. I absolutely adore Dot's writing style. It also has this really dark, creepy, twisted atmosphere. We obviously, as the audience, know the ending of the story if you've read Hamlet, but it's really interesting watching Ophelia go through the piecing together of this mystery as she travels to her ultimate end. It is a little bit fantastical. There is a little bit of an air of the Fae in this. It's one of my favorite books of all time. I obviously could not talk about the modern Gothic novel without recommending Black Rabbit Hall by Ava Chase. This was a surprise favorite of last year. I think it was last year. Might have been 2017. Not entirely sure on that. I did a review at some point, not sure. This is a fantastic dual timeline storyline that takes place in this creepy old mansion where just tragic things have gone down. And this book starts out with something very tragic happening in one of the timelines, and then you have to follow and figure out what happened in the aftermath to this girl that we are following. What is her story? It's so dark and twisted. There are two romances in this book. One of them is in the future timeline and one of them is in the past timeline. The past timeline one is a wild, Hooray. The future timeline one is really cute because that is actually a girl that she's trying to find a place to get married. So she's already in an established romance. You don't really see all that much about her fiance, but it is really sweet and cute. And then it's really fun to kind of watch and to worry about the romance that is developing in the past. I think it really just is up there with some of the like classic gothic novels. And finally, since we are talking about mystery and romance and hate to love, I have to recommend Not If I Save You First by Allie Carter. This takes place in Alaska, and it's two people who previously were really good friends. They were kind of on that cusp of, yes, we are going to be a thing. And then the girl's father ends their life and moves them to Alaska. However, the boy is the son of the president, and when he gets into a little bit of trouble, he ends up getting shipped up to Alaska to kind of hide from the people who are causing trouble. So unfortunately, trouble follows him, and a lot of it is just the two of them trying to survive in Alaska while also trying to figure out why these people are after him. I love it. I loved the banter. There is a little bit of miscommunication involved because they're both very prideful people that don't want to talk about their feelings. And yet the progression from the beginning until the end of the novel is just so much fun. So those are the end of my official recommendations, but I do want to recommend a couple of things that I haven't finished, but I think you will enjoy because I know you're a big fan of Jane Austen. The first is Hearts, Strings, and Other Broken Things by Jacqueline Firkins. This is a retelling of Mansfield Park. It sounds good. And then I have one that's maybe a little bit outside of what you normally read, and that is The Stars We Steal by Alexa Dunn. This is a sci-fi that is Persuasion meets The Bachelor. There are a few other like Jane Austen tropes, so it's not straight up persuasion, but it is still like so good. I'm a little bit into this one, and I am enjoying it so far. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that both of these existed because they look really good if you are a fan of Jane Austen, as I am. So. Alright, so a Merry Christmas, Rebecca. I hope those recommendations sounded intriguing and maybe had a few that you hadn't heard of before. I will have all of Rebecca's information linked down in my description box, including the 3 videos that she sent me to help me figure out what her reading tastes were. Make sure that you go and check out her channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed these recommendations, please go ahead and give this a thumbs up. Also, if you are new here and you like videos about books and writing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!